there's a short life in
Why do you think that is? What the creative side is?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take. You're going through so much to try and deal with life.
Pop star Aaron Carter has at the age of 34.
Yeah, the troubled performer grew up in the limelight, but he was in and out of rehab several times.
The story begins with a name that looms large in the music industry, Sean Combs, better known as Diddy. For decades, he's been hailed as a titan of hip-hop, a mogul who turned beats into an empire and built a legacy that seemed untouchable. But now, that empire stands on the brink of collapse, and the spotlight has shifted from his platinum records to allegations that are as shocking as they are sinister. The courtroom drama surrounding Diddy has taken a dark turn, with accusations that stretch far beyond the glitz and glamour of his public persona. And somehow, in the middle of this tangled web of power, fame, and scandal, lies the tragic story of Aaron Carter, a former child star whose untimely end has left a trail of unanswered questions.
You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head. But when you lose your man card.
Diddy's legal team is
and somehow, in the middle of this tangled web of power, fame, and scandal, lies the tragic story of Aaron Carter, a former child star whose untimely death has left a trail of unanswered questions.
It's a tidal wave.
It's an unhealthy space, someone once said. Eventually, you're going to go too far. Who knows what happened to Philip, or what Heath had to endure to reach that level? Some people do things they can't recover from, and they keep getting high, hoping to forget. Diddy's legal team is scrambling. In public, they paint a picture of a man being unfairly targeted, someone being hunted by opportunists. But behind closed doors, there's panic, and for good reason. The federal case against him isn't built on one or two claims. It's a tidal wave. 3 new individuals have come forward with more disturbing allegations. Among them are whispers that Diddy exploited young stars like Aaron Carter and Justin Bieber during the early days of their careers. The accusations date.
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
Young to grasp the dangers of the world he was stepping into. Justin Bieber has also been dragged into the narrative, with claims that he, too, was exposed to that same toxic environment. What is that? What do you mean by giving up your man card? Someone asks. You give up your right to being a man. A man doesn't take it. He gives it. And once you give it up, you don't get it back. But the story doesn't stop there. Aaron Carter's mother.
He was a good person. He had his demons, as we all do, I just wish he had another chance to defeat those demons, I'll say.
She has taken her fight public, demanding the case be reopened. The official story that Aaron drowned in a bathtub due to prescription drug use doesn't add up. Why was there no water in his lungs? It's a detail that raises more questions than it answers. Aaron had his demons, but he also left behind troubling clues, desperate cries for help in the days leading up to his death. He said he felt unsafe. He said he was being targeted. He posted videos, asked for help, even pleaded for money to hire security. No one listened. The timing of his death, just one day after Diddy's birthday, has only fueled speculation. Aaron had been naming names. He threatened to expose people in the industry. And yet his phone, the device he was glued to, was found in his car, far from the body. For someone always online, always documenting his life, the absence of that phone is a red flag. Jane Schneck has accused investigators of mishandling the case, treating it like an overdose rather than a potential crime scene. She's even posted graphic photos of the bathroom. Greenish water in the tub, clothes strewn across the floor, and strange liquids splashed in unnatural patterns. To her, these are not signs of an accident. They're signs of something intentional. Then there's the housekeeper, the person who found Aaron's body. She was a homeless woman he had recently taken in, with no connection to him prior. Her account is vague, and witnesses say 2 unidentified people were seen leaving the house shortly before she made the discovery. Who were they? Why haven't they been questioned? These questions keep circling back to Diddy. His influence in the music industry is enormous, and Aaron wasn't the only one who feared him.
That was all the people that went to the Puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Get punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid, you...
Diddy's legal team claims these are all opportunistic lies. But the allegations are piling up. And with each new one, the story grows darker. One actor who was invited to one of Diddy's parties once said, "He..."
Vague at best, raising questions about what really happened during those final hours. And then there are the reports of 2 unidentified individuals seen leaving his home shortly before the housekeeper made her grim discovery. Who were they? What were they doing there? And why haven't they been thoroughly investigated? This is where Diddy's name keeps resurfacing. His connections to Aaron Carter, however tenuous, are impossible to ignore. Both men were major players in the music industry, albeit at very different stages of their careers. But it's not just Aaron who had reason to fear him. Justin Bieber, another former child star, has also hinted at the darker side of the industry. In interviews, he's broken down in tears, expressing his concern for younger artists like Billie Eilish. He doesn't want anyone to go through what he went through. These cryptic statements, paired with the ongoing allegations against Diddy, paint a picture of an industry that's rotten to its core, where power dynamics are exploited and silence is bought at the expense of the truth.
No, I get it. So you see some guys struggling with that. You see Bieber struggling with that. You see some of these guys struggling with that.
They can't get it out of their head. They can't get it out of their head.
And then there's the broader context. Hollywood's dark underbelly has been exposed time and time again, from the Harvey Weinstein scandal to the revelations about Jeffrey Epstein. The entertainment industry has long been accused of enabling and protecting predators, creating a culture of silence that allows abuse to flourish. Diddy's alleged actions, if proven true, would be yet another example of this systemic rot. The accusations against him are not just about individual acts of misconduct. They speak to a culture of complicity, where those in power are untouchable and those without it are disposable. But what makes this case so explosive is the sheer number of people coming forward. Diddy's legal team is working overtime to discredit the allegations, arguing that they're nothing more than opportunistic attempts to cash in on his downfall. But the stories are piling up, each one more damning than the last. And with the trial looming, the stakes couldn't be higher. If even a fraction of these accusations are proven true, it could mark the end of Diddy's career and signal a seismic shift in the music industry.
Did you ever have the opportunity where you got invited and you said no to it?
Hell yeah.
What was the consequence when you said no?
Puffy invited me for weeks, asking me to come and teach him how to, wanted me to be his acting coach for a while. Go there and he's sitting around just looking. I'm like, okay, what's the material you want to work on? He's just looking at me.
For now, the world waits. As the legal battle unfolds, the questions surrounding Aaron Carter's passing remain unanswered. Was he just another young star swallowed up by the pressures of fame? Or was there something far more sinister at play? And if Diddy truly is the shadowy figure pulling strings behind the scenes, how deep does his influence go? These are the questions that demand answers. And as the story continues to unfold, it's clear that we've only scratched the surface. And yet, as the story continues to unravel, the questions about Aaron Carter's final moments only grow darker. The timeline of events leading up to that fateful day is riddled with inconsistencies, strange coincidences, and a chilling sense of foreboding that suggests this was no ordinary tragedy. Let's talk about the people who were circling Aaron in the days before everything fell apart, because this is where things start to get truly unsettling.
Will you help me? I want to hear your music, so I come over there and play the music, and he's sitting there, just looking at me, like waiting. Okay. So then my assistant was like, he wants to hang out with you next week, and I was like, for what? He's like, I think he's trying to you. That's what my assistant said. I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So now no more communication.
First, there's the housekeeper. This wasn't someone who had been part of Aaron's life for years or even months. She was a mysterious, last-minute addition to his inner circle, hired under circumstances that remained suspiciously vague. Reports suggest that Aaron took her in not as a professional employee, but as someone in need, someone who had been homeless and seemingly had nowhere else to go. It sounds altruistic, almost noble. But was it really? Or was it a calculated move by someone who saw an opportunity to get close to a vulnerable man who was already teetering on the edge? And why, after being entrusted with such a critical role in his household, did she fail to properly check on him during those crucial hours? The unanswered texts, the apparent lack of urgency, it all feels wrong. What's even more bizarre is the alleged presence of 2 unidentified individuals seen leaving Aaron's property shortly before his body was discovered. Witness accounts describe them as unfamiliar faces, people who didn't belong in Aaron's orbit. Who were they and what were they doing there? The housekeeper's vague recollection of the night raises even more questions. Were these individuals connected to her? Were they friends, accomplices, or something else entirely? And why haven't the authorities been able or willing to identify them? It's almost as if this part of the story has been quietly swept under the rug, left to fade into the background while the spotlight remains fixed on Aaron's personal struggles.
It's very painful. Very, very painful. I talked to him 2 weeks ago. He was at the dentist and he FaceTimed me. He said, come over. And I said, I can't, I have work to do. I wish I could have just go see him at least one more time.
But let's not forget the most glaring inconsistency of all, the phone. Aaron was glued to that device, constantly posting, texting, and documenting his life. It wasn't just a tool, it was his lifeline, his connection to the outside world. For it to be found in his car far from the scene is more than just unusual, it's downright suspicious. And the fact that no one seems to have an explanation for this detail only adds to the sense of cover-up. Was the phone deliberately moved to make it seem like Aaron had been alone? Or was it taken from him in his final moments, perhaps to erase evidence of what really happened? And then there's the green water in the bathtub, a detail so grotesque and specific that it's impossible to ignore. The imagery alone is haunting, but it's what it represents that's truly chilling. Green water isn't normal. It suggests a prolonged period of neglect, as if Aaron had been left there for hours, maybe longer. And yet, no one has been able to explain why the water was in that state or what it might signify. The coroner's report may have ruled out foul play, but how can we trust that conclusion when so many questions remain unanswered, especially when we know that the same coroner's office has faced allegations of corruption and misconduct in the past? The implications are staggering.
Now you notice to be hands off with somebody. A number of producers come in to make the approach, and you threaten to punch them in the mouth, or threaten to knock their head off, or talking to you like, or looking at you like you're a woman. You know, when you approach a real man about his masculinity, you're going to get a real reaction back. It's a difference when a guy walks in a room and when a man walks into a room. And a man don't take the same things that a guy will accept.
And let's talk about the industry's silence. Where are the voices of support from those who once called Aaron a friend, a colleague, a peer? The same industry that profited off his talent and his image now seems eerily quiet, as if they're hoping this story will fade away before anyone starts asking uncomfortable questions. And maybe that's the point. Maybe the silence is the loudest statement of all, a collective decision to let sleeping dogs lie rather than risk exposing whatever secrets might be buried alongside Aaron's tragic story. But the silence isn't just limited to the entertainment world. The legal system's apparent lack of interest in reopening the case is equally damning. It's not just Aaron's mother who's been left in the dark. It's the public, the fans, the people who deserve answers. Why hasn't there been a more thorough investigation? Why weren't the 2 unidentified individuals questioned? Why haven't we heard more from the housekeeper? Every piece of this puzzle feels deliberately obscured, as if someone or some group wanted to make sure the full picture never comes into focus.
I've lost businesses because I don't bend over in that way. I don't compromise. I don't play roles. I don't kiss a man. I don't do that because the man card means everything.
And here's where things take an even darker turn. Aaron wasn't just a victim of his own demons, he was a victim of an industry that chews people up and spits them out. His story is a cautionary tale, but it's also a damning indictment of an ecosystem that prioritizes profit over people. And Diddy's alleged involvement only amplifies the stakes. If even a fraction of the accusations against him are true, it paints a picture of an industry controlled by powerful figures who operate with impunity. These aren't just allegations of personal misconduct. They're allegations of systemic abuse, manipulation, and exploitation. But Diddy's alleged role in all of this isn't just about one man's actions. It's about the power he's wielded for decades. This is a man whose influence stretches far beyond music, from record labels to fashion brands to major corporate partnerships. Diddy has positioned himself as a gatekeeper of success. And with that kind of power comes the ability to control narratives, silence dissent, and, if the allegations are to be believed, protect himself from consequences. The whispers about Diddy don't just stop at personal misconduct. They hint at a network of enablers, a system of protection that shields powerful figures from scrutiny while keeping their victims isolated and afraid. If Aaron Carter's story is part of this larger pattern, then the implications are staggering. How many other stories like his have been buried? How many other young stars were caught in the same trap, their voices silenced before they could ever speak out?
This stuff. Are you done with Hollywood because of this specific
I'm
reason?
still working. I still, I haven't made the money necessary to do all of the other stuff. So I still have to go and do the chitlin circuit. I still have to do the job that I need to. But eventually, I've done what I set out to do, which was to redefine the universe. I've proven what I've set out to do, and that's why I have all the patents, whether they evaluate it or not.
What's even more disturbing are the claims that Diddy's reach extends into law enforcement and legal institutions. It's no secret that wealth and influence can buy you access, but the allegations against him suggest something far more insidious. There are rumors, unproven but persistent, that Diddy has connections within key organizations that allow him to manipulate investigations, bury evidence, and ensure that certain doors stay closed. Take, for example, the coroner's office involved in Aaron's case. This isn't the first time questions have been raised about its integrity. In fact, some critics have pointed out a pattern of suspicious rulings in high-profile cases connected to the entertainment industry. Could it be coincidence? Or could it be part of a larger web of influence that Diddy has woven over the years?
So, Terrence Howard appeared on the PBD podcast with Patrick McDavid, and the episode, this premiered on April 4th. It's definitely making the rounds because in this episode, Terrence Howard describes an interaction with Diddy where he says that he believes that Diddy was trying to have with him. Let's take a look.
And then there's the video footage. The now infamous clip of Diddy allegedly attacking Cassie Ventura is just one piece of a much larger puzzle, but it's a piece that raises critical questions about his temperament and the lengths he's willing to go to maintain control. If this is how he behaves when the cameras are rolling, what happens behind closed doors? Prosecutors have claimed that Diddy's empire wasn't just about music. It was a pipeline for exploitation, fueled by a culture of fear and silence. And if the accusations about his so-called freak-offs are true, then we're not just talking about one man's misconduct. We're talking about an entire system built to protect the powerful at the expense of the powerless. What's most chilling is the idea that Diddy's alleged actions weren't just personal. They were systematic, orchestrated, and perhaps most horrifyingly, normalized within the circles he operated in. Think back to the other young stars who have come forward in recent years, hinting at the darker side of fame. Justin Bieber's emotional interviews, Britney Spears' battle for autonomy, Corey Feldman's attempts to expose Hollywood's secrets. They all point to the same underlying issue. This isn't just about individual cases, it's about a culture that enables and protects predators while silencing victims. And Aaron's story fits this narrative all too well. He was young, talented, and desperate for validation, a perfect target for those looking to exploit his vulnerabilities.
He hadn't seen him all day Friday, and then decided she always gave him coffee in the morning, made coffee for him. So she went to his door, his bedroom door, and knocked on it, and then heard the dog in an extremely agitated state inside Aaron's bedroom. And that's when she decided she would open the door, and she discovered him. But it looks, Brad, like he had been for.
And yet, for all the speculation, all the unanswered questions, one thing remains clear. The truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered. Whether it's hidden in the phone logs that were mysteriously erased, the testimonies of those who were there that night, or the broader patterns of behavior that have been swept under the rug for years, the pieces of the puzzle are there. It's just a matter of whether anyone has the courage or the power to put them together. But what do you think? Is this just another tragic story of a star gone too soon? Or is there something far more sinister at play? Are we witnessing the unraveling of an empire, or are we only scratching the surface of an even bigger conspiracy? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and trust us, this is one story you're going to want to keep following. We'll catch you in the next one.